Notably absent from the annual sports game pageant last year was the UFC, which took something of a sabbatical in 2011 to keep the fast-growing franchise from falling into an untimely rut. Returning refreshed in 2012 with UFC Undisputed 3, the series seems determined to recapture the lightning that put the first game on the map. But does the series still have the fight to stay a top competitor?
Oh, that head kick landed! Shin to the chin, good night! He loves throwing that punch.
Compared to the often absurd number of modes featured in developer Yuke's work with the WWE, UFC Undisputed selection has historically come across as relatively tame in comparison, sticking to a lean set of options that gives due attention to the fighting, but touches on little else. Disappointingly, the extra year in production hasn't changed this. A few minor nips and tucks in career mode, such as the removal of stat decay and fatigue, make it a smoother and altogether faster experience than before, but it, along with other returning features like title defense, ultimate fights, and event mode, remain for the most part unchanged in Part 3. The inclusion of the UFC-acquired Pride Fighting League of Japan ranks among the biggest additions this year, bringing a throng of new international competitors to the fray, as well as a slightly more brutal edge to the fighting. Rudely placed knees and soccer kicks to the face are just another facet of life in this variant rule set, as is a more traditional boxed ring, where limited mobility inevitably leads to increased hostility in close quarters. One new mode, called Pride Grand Prix, has players fighting through persistent injuries in a fight card full of opponents, putting an interesting new angle on the usual fighting format. Guest commentary from Boss Rutan and Steven Quadros lavish each fight with a gloss of authenticity, but for a headlining feature, the Pride element of UFC Undisputed 3 is ultimately far less grand than it would have you believe.
If you got through that, you proved yourself and to the rest of the world to be the best of the best.
Online play falls right in line with series history and features, with recent additions like the Fight Camp making a return in 2012. Despite a few untimely disconnects, overall performance seemed relatively accurate for the game's precise and nuanced pace of play. New content sharing support allows players to trade their homegrown fighters for the first time, which also happens to tie smoothly into the new highlight reel feature, capturing each grisly moment of battles on tape. As far as extra features go, it's a neat addition that definitely keeps pace with what many other games of its kind are doing. As an overall package, though, Undisputed still has some catching up to do with the trailblazers of the pack.
And lights out. Oh, big right hand, he's down. Oh!
If there's one thing that we're glad is carried over, it's the fighting, which retains the raw, calculated brutality that the series has made its name on. The primal impulse to strike, slam, and savage the opposition is not diminished here, but the toolkit suitably brimming with options for the number of diverse fighting styles represented by the sport.
Oh, that was a good body shot!
While 2010 was primarily focused on refining the franchise's sophisticated limb-based fighting mechanics, a considerable part of UFC Undisputed 3 seems to edge toward increasing accessibility on all fronts. Past a comprehensive set of voice tutorials and drills are several options to tweak the game to a less technically demanding level. The so-called amateur control simplifies the pretzel-like motions of ground transitions into a more manageable linear scheme, while the new default stamina mode allows fighters to loose more punches with reckless abandon, relegating the previous model to the stricter and more familiar simulation setting. Where accessibility is concerned, these tweaks do well at changing up the pace for players still struggling to get a foothold in the ring, trading flexibility and depth for a more level playing field, though certain other fixes are definitely less successful at trying to improve the general gaming experience. The new visual submission mechanic, for one, sorely detracts from the minimalistic look and feel of the melee.
Nice, baby, nice. That's it.
That isn't to say, though, that the fighting system has gotten worse or watered down in general. Far from it. Veteran sluggers will find a tighter, more balanced game in the end, with fewer volatile elements like flash knockdowns and reversals creeping into play. Getting rocked seems to serve more as a caution than a death sentence, and both the ground and stand-up game are deeper than ever before, with several new factors like leg kick TKOs and new cage positions layering upon the series' thick and tactical play. On top of that, players can also now pick the same fighter out of the game's impressively sized 150-plus roster.
Ready to throw down and put on a big show for this capacity crowd.
All told, UFC Undisputed 3 retains the series' satisfying and demanding feel, with a system that seems to change less and less with each passing year, which in this case speaks more to a fundamental understanding and execution of the sport than any real lack of ideas or innovation. The fighting continues to feel dense and technical in just the right ways. Of course, there is always room for improvement, but at this point it would take a big surprise from Yuke's for us to believe it.
Oh, big shot. He's down. He ate that one. Boom.
Great angle here.
From a graphical standpoint, UFC Undisputed 3 also seems to have progressed little over past installments, which, to be fair, already set a respectable bar for the series just a few years ago. Fighter likenesses are more recognizable than not, and the predominantly invisible interface remains a strong point in the game's carefully woven realism. This year, a good portion of the glitz seems to have been allocated towards fancy new fighter packages, prefacing each major fight in career mode, as well as procedural commentary that thoughtfully reflects on recent conquests, training, and the match at hand. To this end, Mike Goldberg and Joe Rogan bring yet another set of solid performances to the table, selling that crucial bit of color in each bloody bout.
And here's the knockout blow.
What a great job. What a huge right hand!
UFC Undisputed 3 needs little assistance in selling itself as a capable and rich MMA video game experience with still some of the best ring fighting around. It's clear that the series has already entered a game of inches, however. Longtime fans may appreciate the engorged roster and Pride rule set, but others may not find the extra purchase or year-long break justifiable by any other regard. There are no reservations if you're looking for another year of top-notch brawling in the Octagon, but if it's evolution you're looking for, Undisputed doesn't deliver.
Oh, that's it. Hell yeah! That was a one-punch knockout!